We've got your Georgia-Alabama preview presented by Prize Picks. And look, download Prize Picks, use the code Staples, play $5, get $50 instantly. You know how it works. You're playing squares. You're picking squares. You pick at least two. You pick two or more. The more squares you pick, the higher the potential payout. There's already a board up for Alabama, Georgia, Ari. Already a board.
Christmas
and I think we can use these numbers to try to determine what's going to happen. And right now, like the first thing I look at, the first one in the corner is a goblin square for Arian Smith, the Georgia wide receiver, 40.5 receiving yards. So goblin squares are the ones that are a little bit easier to get. You think you say more than, and it's a little bit easier to get. You can go to a demon one, which would have more. But I think if Arian Smith is in the 50 to 60 yard range, that's pretty good. Dominic Lovett, his number's 46.5. If he's more than that, Dylan Bell, his number's 32.5 receiving yards. If he's more than that, like if you see those if two of those Georgia pass catchers go more than, I'm feeling really good about Georgia in this game.
Yeah. So we did talk about this in the picks show on Monday, and I've had about 24 hours to marinate it. I actually wrote a story on On3 that's up right now, just 4 thoughts about the game. And as I was going through it, like I started to realize that I was feeling a lot more comfortable and confident with the Alabama pick. So like, yeah, those numbers are all very manageable numbers for Georgia pass catchers to get to, but are any of those numbers like eye popping out of your head? You know, this person's going to get there type of a thing. Like, and it's just like reinforces my angst about it.
Well, right. And that's there's no guarantee of that. And I think the lower the score, the better the chance that Alabama wins. I think Georgia probably can, if it gets into where it's a shootout where Georgia's scoring on Alabama's defense quite a bit, then I think there's a good chance Georgia wins. And I know that's probably counterintuitive because you're thinking, okay, Alabama's got the explosive offense. If it's a shootout, Georgia's not going to be able to keep up.
No, but what you're saying is that Georgia's moving the ball too. At that level.
Remember that both these teams have good enough defenses to use the defense, if it's playing well, to dictate the tempo of the game. So it's not if you are moving the ball, then Georgia may play a little bit different game defensively if they're moving it than if they're not moving it. They're going to get more. They're going to try to make Alabama more conservative if that's the case. So. And then Jalen Milroe is sort of the X factor in all of this. His passing yardage number is 204.5, which and I one thing to point out, we had a question in the chat from Ben. Weather might affect the game. No, it's possible. So there's a hurricane in the Gulf, and obviously I'm looking at this because it may hit us, but it is probably going to make landfall in Florida Thursday late afternoon into the night. It's moving very fast. It actually may not affect the Georgia-Alabama game because it may be north of there by then. They would get it probably sometime Friday night, Saturday morning. By Saturday night, I think the storm would be somewhere else if it keeps moving as fast as it is. And that's your meteorology segment with Andy and Ari.
There he goes now, everyone. Just talking about the speed of a storm.
I have to know this because I have to know if my kids are going to school on Thursday or Friday. Like these are important. I had to buy water this morning. So the Milroe number, the passing number, 204.5. Like if he's more than that, I think Georgia's in trouble. Because if Ryan Williams has that demon square 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. If he's getting loose, Georgia's in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I think that, there's been a lot of Jeremiah Smith mania, in college football this year because he's been very good. And for whatever reason, it feels like not enough people are appreciating how good Ryan Smith is. Could you imagine if Georgia had him?
No. That would be pretty terrifying. I mean, that would change
Like if
everything.
Georgia had one
Georgia just
player,
needs someone to take the top off the defense.
I had a dream about that last night. I know it doesn't really help us in this conversation, but I just thought like that's the missing piece that Georgia has and Alabama has it. Like I think that demon square of more than 0.5 receiving and rushing yards for him is a very attractive
It's
play.
not a freebie.
Touchdown. No, sorry. Yeah, touchdowns is a very attractive play because if Alabama's going to win this game, I think he's going to have to make plays. I think he's going to have to be a game changer. He's going to have to get behind the defense. He's going to have to score. And I think that's going to happen. So I am in love with this kid's talent. He's fast as hell. He's 17 years old, and he's going to be a household name in the sport for the next 3 years before he's off to the NFL.
So Jalen Milroe also 251.5 pass plus rushing yards. So that gives you some flexibility. But this is you answering a question about what you think Jalen Milroe is in 2024 versus 2023. Because this is a game. Now, last year, Jalen Milroe was really good against Georgia in the SEC championship game. There were other games, the Michigan game, the Arkansas game, some other games where early in the Tennessee game, the first half of the Tennessee game, where it felt like he took some sacks that maybe he didn't have to take. And that's the question. Does he walk into some sacks or is he over that now? Because if he's over that now and he doesn't do that anymore, that 251.5 is pretty enticing because he's going to gain his on the ground. The question is, how many sacks will he take that reduces that rushing total?
Yeah, he's averaging 52 yards a game on the ground this year and has had a few explosive play. If you're viewing Jalen Milroe as somebody who's rushing the ball 15 times a game, like that's not his game anymore.
No.
So like
he's going to squirt loose for one long one. It's like the LSU game last year. Right. Squirt loose for a couple long ones.
Yeah, and I think that's on the table, especially considering how many people Georgia has to cover in this game. But I don't know that the extra rushing yards on that number sways me because I'm not sure. I think that's going to be more of a random. Does he find some green on a play and rush for 45 or 50 on one play is more than it is a sustained 4, 6, 8, 12, 13, 17 type of, rushing statistic output.
So producer Rivers saying go for the demon square 0.5 rushing receiving TDs, Jam Miller, Alabama running back. I think he just likes to say Jam Miller. And I will say Jam Miller is a hell of an interview, by the way. We talked to him after the Wisconsin game. I can listen to that guy talk all day. So, if you get that, you're going to get another good Jam Miller interview. So the producer River trying to wish good content for the show into existence, and I appreciate that.
What's interesting is that you would say that Jam Miller would be the perfect name for a running back, but it just makes me want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, Andy. Every single time I hear the name, I just want to put a little jam on some peanut butter and maybe toss it in the toaster or something.
It's probably lunch today, by the way.
Is that what you're going to have?
I'm going blueberry preserves
for
the jelly.
I've never heard of a human being even buying that. So that's
what I've gotten in the fridge right now. But I like that. When I was a kid, it was purely peanut butter with apple jelly. Obviously, grape jelly is your classic, but I'm not always in the mood for grape jelly. Strawberry jam makes a great PB&J, but I'm telling you, the Polaner all fruit blueberry preserves. You may be too young to remember this commercial, but I know the people in the chat do. I know my old people in the chat remember this. The Polaner all fruit commercial where you have all the fancy people at the table. Please pass the Polaner all fruit. Please pass the Polaner all fruit. And then there's a guy in a cowboy hat. Could you please pass the jelly? And then the woman faints. Every time I'm scooping it out and putting it on the bread, I was like, could you please pass the jelly?
So you went to the grocery store and you were in the jelly area and you're like, okay, there's grape. I'm going to not pick that up. There's strawberry. Yep. I'm not going to pick that up. I'm going to get blueberry jam.
Yep.
That's what happened. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah. You know what else is good when I want to change things up? Apricot.
Oh, I like apricot. But I wouldn't put it on the pantheon above the two goats. You know what I mean?